Hello everybody, what is up? My name is John Solid, I'm Twitch's #1 hand model, and for today, we're coming at you with our guide on how to rogue in Season of Discovery. Now, we made one back in Phase 5 because we thought there was no way that Blizzard would ever make rogues better, and it turns out they did. Rogues got an insane buff in PvP that nobody's talking about in Season 7 of Phase 7 of Season of Discovery. God, there's so many different things now, it's hard to keep track of them. So, we're going to come at you right here, right now, without further ado, on how to rogue. And if it ever changes, by the way, sorry, I'm going to just cut right in again. There's going to be a video right here. If there's no video right here, and you're like, hey, John Solo, you're being crazy, there's no video there, then perfect. You're on our most recent video. If there is a video there, it's just going to be updated on how to rogue. And so without further ado now, let's get into the guide. So today we're going to just start off with a combination of talking about our gear, our runes, and our talents. So we're going to start off talking about that while we're on this flight, and then hopefully by the time that we land, it'll be time to PvP, and we can show you all this in action. So basically, we're going to keep the same exact play style. We're playing a high output damage backstab build to where we are stunning our target and we are killing them in stuns. And if for whatever reason they get out of one of the stuns with their trinket or a potion, if they get out with a potion, living action potion, we can't do anything for 5 seconds, so it kind of changes just a little bit on what we're doing. But we're going to be very, very aware of what our opponent is popping via consumables and going from there. But a lot of the times, you can just kill somebody before they even recognize that they're in trouble. And that's one of the fun things about this build, is that you are going to get in so many fights where people think that they have time to, sit a stun or maybe like wait for a better reaction or something, and they don't. And so that's what's so cool about this. So let me take a swig really quickly, and then we're going to get back to it. All right, now, so what we are doing when we're PvPing is, again, we are stun locking our opponent, so we're opening up with a cheap shot. Now, we're going to talk about our talents and our gear kind of at the same time a little bit here. So when you are opening, you're opening with the cheap shot. So you have this Dirty Deeds. And what it does is it allows your cheap shot to be 50 energy instead of 60. And why this is big, and normally this is something that in classic error, you don't get this talent. But because we're playing Season of Discovery, we're playing it differently, so we get a little bit of different talents up in here. So we're grabbing Dirty Deeds, and the reason why we're grabbing Dirty Deeds is because with Craft of Shadows, now there's like so many rings out there that are actually better than this, but this is good for one specific reason. You see that increase your maximum energy by 10? So we're going to use this in combination with that talent to be able to cheap shot someone and then backstab them 2 times without any energy rejuvenation. So you see, that's a ton of damage right there. And so, again, like, we're using all these, like, weird things. So our backstab has an increased 30% chance to crit, so 32, so it has a 62% chance to crit. So in one of those 2 backstabs, we're, like, backstabbing them for, like, 1500s non-crit, but then when we're critting, like, 3000s. So if you non-crit and then crit somebody, that's 4500 HP. I have 4200 HP unbuffed, so that's killing people when they're not expecting it. It's just a backstab and two backstabs and a cheap shot. So, and you're not even running out of energy for that. And then so, like, we have our trinket here to where if we do that and they're still alive, we can trinket, ambush, get a free backstab. We still don't even need any energy regen, but by then, you've had so much energy regen that you can either backstab again, or you can between the eyes them, which is like our version of kidney shot in Season of Discovery. So kidney shot still serves some purposes because it can stun for 6 seconds versus stunning for only 5 seconds. But between the eyes is basically like a combination of eviscerate, I forgot it for a second, and kidney shot. And so you just combine those two together for one finisher that stuns and does damage. It's just nuts. And it's a range stun too. You have 20 yards on this. So if they for some reason get away from you, which they never should, you should just have so much burst that it doesn't even matter. So let's talk about our build a little bit here. So Master Deception, we only put 2 in, and that is because we get in Season 7, we get these boots from Nax that are just insane. So what they do is they equip, it gives you an increased effective stealth level, but that doesn't even really matter because your on use, which is a minute, increases your effective stealth level by 8. What that does is it basically makes you invisible to mobs and players. They'll never see you. Even with prep up, I don't think that they can even see you. I think it increases your effective stealth level by so much that even with any sort of reduction that another player might have, they can't even see you. I've tested it a few times and people haven't been able to see me at all. So I don't know how true it is, but I really think that when you're having this on use, they can't even target you. Like they have to AoE you out. So this is huge. So with that, we're still keeping our forward piece of the tier 2 because it increases your opening move. So when we cheap shot somebody, we can then backstab for free and then get our 2 extra backstabs. So we're backstabbing somebody for 3 times now before we even have to worry about energy. So you see, like, it doesn't even matter what they do. You have so much energy that you can just do whatever you want. And then so the 4 set increases your damage by 20%. Now this is where you start increasing your damage by insane amounts. So with that 20% damage, we're then combining it with the new Naxxramas set. So what this new Nax T3 set does, which I can't even believe Blizzard added this to the game, it increases your ambush by 20% and your backstab by a further additional 10%. So with those 2 things, you're just doing insane damage to where you can almost neglect having to play defensive because you are so offensive that you don't even really have to do this reptile thing in your brain where when you're fighting somebody, you're supposed to either decide at 1 second whether or not you're going to try and mitigate damage or whether you're going to try and do as much damage as possible. And you don't even really need to think about that because doing the amount of damage that they have made Backstab into, you just don't even have to worry about that. So we have a extra 30% chance to crit on ambush. So our ambush also has 60%. We have the 3-piece, so we're using the neck, the trinket, because there's no way that you can ever get rid of this trinket. It increases your energy by 60 and gives you the cutthroat ambush effect. So you can use ambush. So what it does is you use ambush, you get a free backstab, and then you get energy to be able to do 2 more backstabs. So now we're talking that you have backstabbed somebody, I don't know, 7 times now, maybe 8 times now. You've ambushed them once, you're still keeping them stunned, and you're not even having to worry about energy yet. So, like, we're not even talking about energy, which is, like, the number 1 thing a rogue has to worry about. We haven't had to worry about it yet. So when we do the 3 set, we do the bracers too, because how you think about these bracers right here is you think about it as that they are adding 5% critical strike damage to or increasing your critical strike chance by 5%. So there's no piece in the game that will give you more than 5% crit. We use a trinket and classic error, Blackhand's Breath that gives you 2% crit because just 2% crit's insane. But these bracers effectively give you effectively give you 5% crit. So we use those, and then we use the neck piece because it increases your effective cutthroat, which is your free ambushes, by 5%. So now you're at 20% chance to get the effective cutthroat rather than just 15. And then again, you're using your 2-piece. So I like to use the 2-piece T3 of the shoulders, the chest, and then the 3-piece CG of the neck, the bracers, the trinket. You use your other trinket is the ZG 2-minute trinket, Craft of Shadows. This is from the reel vendor, 50 reels. It's the best, by far the best ring, because it allows you to, again, get 10 extra energy, which allows you on your opener to just ignore energy, which is just awesome. And then you have your 3 set of the Veiled Shadows. So we're finally getting rid of our Filcher's Cowl. Filcher's Cowl is the best back by far because it increases your effective stealth by 3. But because we got these new Nax boots that have this on use, we can get rid of it, which is like, it's pretty big because this 3 set allows your finishing moves to be 50% less energy, which on top of Relentless Strikes, it makes your finishing moves a net positive in energy. So you are not actually losing energy by using a finishing move. You're gaining energy by using a finishing move after the global, of course, that you had to use on the finishing move. But it is still very, very good. So then you use your 4-piece. So for the 4-piece to tier 2, you use your gloves. The gloves give you immune to disarm. So now you are immune to disarm. And then you just get the belt, the pants, and the helm. The helm, it's not nice because you get all this hit on it. You really don't want that, but I can't see a world of you doing the 4 set differently because of the boots. And the reason why you use the shoulders and the chest is because they give you things that were so important with the addition of AQ. Reduces the chance of parry or dodge by 1%. So this doesn't matter so much when you're behind a target, but if your target is good and they're never showing their back to you, this is just incredibly awesome to have. So you make sure that it's on your 2 set of these, so it's on both the chest and the shoulders, so those are the ones that I picked. For weapons, I'm using the Grand Marshal's Dirk. You definitely want King's Fall here. You definitely want Death Sting here. We have been so unlucky. We never saw a Death Sting here all throughout AQ. Our first 2 runs, we haven't seen a Kingfall, so I'm very hopeful for that. You use your Veiled Shadows dagger. This dagger is very slow, not ideal. You want your offhand dagger to be faster, but because it gives you the 50% reduced energy for finishing moves, it's worth having. And then again, Toxic Injector here, it gives you that 1% reduced dodge to parry, which is like huge if your opponent knows what they're doing. So with that, that's pretty much the gear. For the talents, we do a little bit things differently than Classic. So we grab improved exposed armor because one of our poisons that we're using is Sebaceous Poison. We're using this on our main hand. So our main hand always gets Sebaceous. And then when you proc the Sebaceous, your backstabs and ambushes just go through the roof because your target no longer has, any armor pretty much. Always get Relentless Strikes. That's just a given. It gives you 20% per combo point. So when you have 5 combo points, you have that 100% to get 25 energy. So that's just like a given. 60% chance to add a combo point. It's pretty good. You might go somewhere else if there's somewhere else better. You don't use Eviscerate anymore, so these might be here on Classic. It really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for more combo points and finishers, definitely Relentless. And then Murder, obviously, 2% to damage to humanoids. That applies to players, so we're using that. 5% crit. Over here, this is exact same build as on Classic. So we grab our 3% improved gouge, 2% in dodge, 2% in deflection, then the 30% to backstab. And then for these, I like to reduce my cooldown on my evasion and my sprint, And then I like to give my sprint the 100% chance to remove all impairment effects. So basically it gives you a whatever the gnome thing is, escape artist. I forgot it for a second. I played gnomes so much I shouldn't have forgotten it. But it gives you an escape artist whenever you sprint. Gigantic. And then over to subtlety, not too much changes here besides for that we've taken 2% out, or 2 out of elusive and moved it over to camouflage. So there's a reason behind this. Let me just get up here the opportunity. Master Deception shouldn't be too big of a deal. It's like kind of filler combo points, number 1. Number 2, you really want to have at least 3 stealth level as your very, very minimum. I have 1 stealth level here on the boots, and then 2 right here. Again, that doesn't really matter. I've been thinking about moving these out because, like, when you do the on use of the boots, they can't see anyways. It would really just be like kind of these are kind of like PvE points at this point, and so they kind of need to be moved, but I haven't figured out where to move them. I might want to move them to here to blind, just to remove our blind cooldown. We don't care about our vanish cooldown. I'll explain that in a minute. Well, I guess I'll explain that now. So we don't care about our vanish cooldown because we're using this phantom on our shoulders, and what that does is it makes our vanish a 1-minute cooldown. So if, for whatever reason, somebody gets out of your cheap shot, you kitty shot them, for whatever reason, they're able to get out of that, or they have something else and you didn't see it or whatever, and you really need them stunned again, you can boom, vanish, cheap shot. That's really the reason why it's there, for like a defensive and like kind of an offensive, because we're using Master of Subtlety on the pants or on the boots. So with that, you're wanting to stealth as much as possible. So being able to vanish as much as possible, very, very nice, because it just activates that Master of Subtlety and gives you that 10% damage. But then back to the talents. So that's the reason why we don't put anything in elusiveness. We put 2 into camouflage. Now these 2 would normally be in elusiveness, but we just put them into camouflage because we feel like the stealth would be better. If you do not have the boots though, you 100% want to put those 2 extra points into Master of Deception. Or get yourself a Filcher's Cowl. To get yourself a Filcher's Cowl, you don't have to worry about this again. You can just keep the 2 points there, and then just move these 2 over to elusiveness. So then you're getting your 3 points here, and to give you an extra chance of getting a combo point when you backstab and stuff. This one's not too huge. I've been thinking about maybe potentially moving these over too, because maybe having a higher backstab or higher ambush crit would be better. So I've just kind of kept these here. This might be a work in progress. Next time you see me play, you might see 3 here, 2 here. Or you might see 1 here and, 2, or 1 less here, 2 here. These combo points right here are kind of like you choose your own villain, what you want more. I just want to move faster while I'm stealth, so that's why I put them into here. And then always get serrated blades because it increases your Nor armor by an additional 300. So with your sebaceous poison, just insane. And then with your offhand, you always just want to use crippling poison. Now, there's an argument that instead of crippling poison, you use waylay on your boots. But I don't like using waylay on my boots. I like using crippling poison. And then the last points are just very self-explanatory. You always get preparation. You get the 1 point here, which is abnormal, but it's because you want to get those extra backstabs off. And then you get heightened sense. Heightened sense, if another rogue has these boots, heightened sense is really not going to do very much for you, but it does help out in all those other scenarios, or when his boots drops off, because it only lasts for 10 seconds, then it would become very effective. And then also, it reduces your chance to get hit by spells and ranged attacks. So that's just good in general as well. So with that being said, we've gone through the talents, we've gone through the gear a little bit, so let's talk about our runes. So our runes, the head rune, really debatable. Honor Amongst Thieves, very, very good, because you are critting a bunch. So there are worlds where if you are finding yourself using a bunch of finishers, this could be good. However, I don't find myself using very many finishers. I find myself ending almost all my fights on just like them being in a stun and really just cheap shot. You cheap shot somebody and then backstab them twice and ambush them probably, and then they're just dead. And then the combat potency would be the one that I would normally use here, but because our offhand is so slow, like our offhand is really, really slow at 1.8. So I've been using focus attacks, and it's felt good. So that's why I've kept that. For our back, we always use Fan of Knives, and that's just for a purely rogue-to-rogue thing. If a rogue gets a stealth off on you or they vanish, it is so easy to just be like, boom, and then they're back out of stealth. I'm in a city right now, by the way, so that could have just killed me if there was a stealth rogue there, because the guard would have came and fucked me up. But that's why that's so good there. On the chest, you want to use the Slaughter from the Shadows, and what that does is it decreases your ambush and your backstab by 30 energy. So you're just getting double the backstabs, double the ambushes. Like, it's nuts. And then on your waist, you always use Shadow Step. It could be an option where Poison Knife is good because, like, you can use this so often. If somebody's, like, kiting you a ton, like maybe like a mage or something like that, it's still not good. No, you always use Shadow Step. Always use Shadow Step. You teleport right behind them. It's the same as it's always been, other than the fact that you can't use it on an ally, which is really annoying. Blizzard, fix that. Let me Shadow Step onto an ally. For the legs, always between the eyes. There's no question about it. You never use anything else. Always between the eyes. For your feet, this one's like that one where, like, if you want to use like an instant or an occult, maybe use Waylay. But Master the Subtlety, 10% damage for your opener, and then for 6 seconds after your opener, you have that 1 minute vanish. So you are able to get this potentially a couple of times. Like if it's like a tank, you're able to get it a couple times a fight. If it's not a tank, you're not. But like it gives you that defensive, the 1 minute cooldown again, because you can vanish Cheap Shot instead. But then it also gives you that 10%. So you're really loving having that 1 minute vanish. You're using your vanish offensively. You're using it defensively. Like, you're using it in every situation possible. So that's why I like the Master of Subtlety. And then just using the Crippling Poison. One, because, like, no poison really does that much damage. You're doing so much damage through backstabs anyways that, like, really it's... The extra poison damage is negligible. The only nice thing is that you don't have to apply a crippling. You just, like, they're just slowed. But I've always used crippling. I'm going to continue to always use crippling. So I'm using Master of Subtlety. For your wrists, you're not really bleeding people because you're just cheap shotting, ambush, or cheap shotting, backstab, 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 ambush, backstab, 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 finisher. Like, so you're never, like, using any sort of bleeds. So Carnage is kind of out the window. Cut to the chase, you don't really give a shit about Slice and Dice because, again, you're just caring about your backstabs and stuff. So that's where Unfair Advantage comes into play. So Unfair Advantage, when you're getting hit back, you get a combo point on them, and then you also strike them back for, weapon damage, which is pretty big. The more combo points and the more damage that you're doing just like passively, like, because this doesn't interrupt you when you are backstabbing or something like that and cost a global. If it was doing something like that where it's like costing you a global to use, this would be pretty bad. But because it's doing its own thing passively in the background, it's much better than either one of these two, because like this you have to activate, and then like you're getting 8% damage, a little bit of healing. It's really not that good. Slice and Dice, you don't care about your auto attacks really, other than like getting your poisons up. But the fights are happening so fast. You're doing so much damage with backstab. You're doing so much damage with ambush. That doesn't really matter. For the gloves, you always use Cutthroat. Your ambush and backstab, you don't have to be behind them anymore. And it gives you that Cutthroat ability that's on the gloves, where it makes your ambush able to be used outside of stealth. And so when you're getting that ability, you're able to use it outside of stealth. It's making your next backstab completely free energy cost. So you're getting to ambush, backstab somebody every time, because your energy regeneration is enough to get 30 energy in those two globals most of the time. So you are really just slamming backstabs, slamming ambushes. You're getting your T3 to increase that. You're getting your Tier 2 to increase that. When you're doing your energy, your finishers, you're getting 50% energy back. Like, you have 10% energy extra in your opener. You're having, like, when everything fails, you have an instant ambush, backstab here. So it is just insane the amount of damage that they have given us. So now that we've talked about our spec, now that we've talked about our gear, now that we've talked about the combinations between the gear and our runes, let's go out and just show you it in action. And so from here, we're literally just going to find the very first person that we see. It shouldn't be too long, and we're just going to show you how insane this burst is. And boom. And so look, he's already dead. And he didn't even get to play the game. We didn't use any cooldowns other than one of our trinkets, which we really didn't even need to use our trinket. So anyways, the damage is just nuts. And if you want to see any of it in action, you can come over, follow me on Twitch. It's right up there at the top. It's been there the entire time. We do silly goose things. Don't just like and subscribe here. Come follow me on Twitch. Come ask questions on why I do this, why I do that, why I'm a no-life and love to camp people, why I love World PvP and just killing folks. I'm like Compopolis Michael. I just like killing. But anyways, come follow me on Twitch. Like and subscribe here. Have a good rest of your day, but I really hope this taught you one or two things about how to play Rogue and Season of Discovery Phase 7.